All right, so I wanted to talk about the importance of cooking your own food. And I've been cooking for about 4 years now. And it all started when I was first taking the gym seriously. And I realized that I needed to, track what I was eating. And this isn't even for, people that only want to track their calories and stuff like that. I just think that being able to cook your own food is going to help you so much in the long run. Not only is it so much cheaper than going out or ordering takeout all the time, but I've made food that is better than, anywhere around that I can get it. Now, obviously, this might be different if you live in a densely populated city. I'm sure there's great food all around. Even, if you're in a suburb or something like that, there's obviously good local places around. But those places are just going to be way more expensive than if you are, cooking your own food. And also, it's just, a convenience thing. And also, where you find these good places, they might have good sandwiches or good pizza, but they're not going to have, everything that you're looking for. And being able to cook all these different kinds of foods is just, I mean, in my opinion, is just going to make your life that much better if you are, as much as a food enjoyer as I am. And obviously, you need to, be careful, how much you're cooking, or more specifically, what you're cooking, because you can easily, be cooking all your meals and still not be very healthy. But I found that even if you are cooking your own meals and you are not necessarily making like healthy recipes, the places where you get your food, like takeout and stuff like that, already is so much more unhealthy for you just because of how much oil and butter they cook their stuff in, which obviously it tastes great. But if you're making good food, you don't need all this fat to mask the flavor of what you're actually cooking. And once you get good enough, you'll realize that, you don't need all these butters and oils. It's good to add them in moderation, but having the actual main part of the meal stand out is just going to taste better because that's what you're cooking the meal for. You're cooking it to have a good cheeseburger. You're not cooking it to, eat a ton of fat. And like I was saying earlier, if you are cooking your own meals a majority of the time, they're just going to be healthier for you, which is going to allow you to eat more of these meals that you like instead of, get takeout a couple times a week and then have to eat just salad and grilled chicken to stay, within a healthy body weight. And I feel like I'm really focusing on people that, are very health conscious. If you're not health conscious at all, I'd say there's even more of a reason to, be able to cook and bake. I've been baking for a while as well. I think I've been baking for longer than I've been cooking actually, and it's just some of the stuff that you can make is just as good as some of these bakeries where they're charging ridiculous prices. For example, I'll put it on the screen right now. The other week, I made donuts because I was having a little bit of a cheat day, and these they took a long time. I think it took like 7 hours in total, which I'm not saying you have to do it all, but that's just because I don't have a stand mixer, which would have probably cut that time into like 2 hours. So, and I actually just ordered one the other day because I'm a fat ass that likes to bake all kinds of stuff like cookies, donuts, all that kind of stuff, and I'm able to do that and stay healthy because I'm also cooking all of my own meals. And another thing is, when you're older and you have a partner, not being able to cook for them is, something that I feel like a lot of people look for in their partner. And if you're just not able to, prepare any kind of even simple meals, I feel like that's something that they might look down on. And then moving even further, when you have a family and you have kids, are you just not going to be able to, cook for your family? I think that having to rely on takeout or your other partner can lead to either health issues for you and your family or, just bickering back and forth with your partner just because, you're not helping out in the kitchen, even though you might be, working, paying the bills. You should still be able to at least have the basics of cooking. And once you do start cooking, you'll find out that it's really simple. And if you're able to follow a recipe, which is what I do for literally everything for the most part, I just see the ingredients, see what I need to do, and then I follow that. And then it comes out probably 90% as good as, I see in the TikTok video that I watch or something. And I'll never understand how people will come up with the excuse, oh, but I'm just not a good cook. It's like, yeah, nobody's good when they start. It's like, oh, I'm not good at piano. It's like, yeah, because you haven't played piano ever. You get better at cooking the more you cook. And also, it's just following directions. I'll never understand how people will try to claim that they're not a good cook when you just need to follow a set of instructions. So if you're looking to start cooking your own meals, just a couple simple pieces of advice that I would give when cooking any kind of chicken, either breasts or thighs, mainly just those two. A simple, foolproof seasoning that'll taste great every time. If you don't have the money for all these expensive rubs and stuff like that, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and then smoked paprika. Make sure it's smoked because regular paprika doesn't really do much. And I've been using this seasoning blend for, 4 years now. And it just comes out great every single time. As long as you cook the chicken to around 165 degrees internal. You can put this with anything. You can make it into tacos, just cheese and a tortilla folded up, quesadillas. You could make potatoes with it and throw it into a bowl and have something like that, which I just started doing. There's just so many different things that you can do with grilled chicken, and that is a, pretty good baseline. And if you find that your chicken's coming out either burnt on the top or taking too long to cook, then you probably just don't have the heat right. And everyone's stove is different. That's what I cook on, a stove or like a Blackstone, like any kind of flat top grill. And you just need to figure out how hot your grill gets and how hot that needs to be to get a good sear but not burn your chicken. And I think that's a big component that goes into people saying that they're not good at cooking. They just don't understand heat control at all and not know that, you can't put your stove on max sear to, make some chicken breasts, because that's obviously just going to burn and not taste good. And then you wonder why you're not a good cook. It's just a simple mistake that you need to fix. Also, if you are someone who goes to the gym consistently and you track what you eat and you have a hard time getting your protein in, I found that making my own meals, I don't even need to try to get my protein in. It just happens naturally, just because everything that I'm eating is some kind of carb and then some kind of protein. I don't eat vegetables, which I know I should, but when it comes to just carb and protein, if you do have that for 3 meals a day, there's no way that you will have a hard time getting your protein in. And if you need to have, like a single protein bar or something like that, then go ahead. But I don't even need to have protein bars or protein shakes anymore, just because I get all my protein from meats and other whole foods, which, if you don't know, is much better than all this processed protein. It doesn't make a huge difference, but when you think about it, what do you think is better for you? Something that, came from life, or something that was just, mass produced in a factory. once again, it's not that big of a deal. I eat processed food also, but just as long as a majority of your diet is whole foods, that's what you should be focusing on. And then I don't know if this is just me, but I really enjoy cooking for people and seeing people's reactions to my food because I feel like cooking is something that's so simple, but for people, around my age, it's very uncommon for them to be, I'd say proficient in cooking, even though I'm not doing anything special. I'm literally just following recipes, like I've been saying. But people, tell me that I'm so good at cooking or baking when I'm literally just copying what I'm seeing from the internet. It's kind of like the same feeling that you get when you give someone a Christmas present or something. You are giving and providing for somebody instead of just always receiving. And I think that just makes me feel not like a better person, but just it makes me feel good that, I can share this with other people that I like and that so they can enjoy my cooking. I think that's all I want to talk about today. I've just been thinking about food kind of all the time. I've been, losing weight for about 5 months now. And when you're in a deficit for that long, everything you think about is just your next meal. Right after I eat, it's like, all right, what am I going to eat next? And I have to get, pretty creative with the meals I'm eating to make myself, feel full because there's so many different ways to get, 2,000, 2,500 calories in. One way you could not feel anything and you could still have another 2,000 calories. And then, other foods like potatoes, which are, I'm pretty sure, the most satiating food on the planet. There's almost no way you could get fat from eating too many potatoes. Not like French fries or stuff like that, but like air fried or boiled potatoes. So learning how to, make food that goes along with your diet, if you are dieting, makes weight loss so much easier if that is, something that you are going for. But I think that's the end of my rant. I've always loved food my whole life, and I think people should know how to cook a lot more than most people do. But that's about it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you.